This video is called Appearances. Now, my barbers have been messing up my hair. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that the 3 different shops, in the San Jose area, accidentally messed up my hair. 2 of them cutting my forehead in the same place as they lined it up, which doesn't happen that often, but it's happened, out of like 10 haircuts altogether. As soon as it was brought to their attention that I'm being that they should do it to me, that I'm the political opposition, the same groups of people that I accuse of gang stalking me. One of them is a feminist-owned barbershop. The other one has northern Hispanic-looking people working there. Obviously, they know northern Hispanics if they aren't from the gangs themselves. And the other one is on the east side in a northern Hispanic gang neighborhood with an Asian gentleman. Okay? There's been whites, military, mental health, northern Hispanics, Asians, southern Hispanics, and different groups of people that have been following me and harassing me. Okay? So this is appearances now, isn't it? Now, if I didn't take the time to pick my hair, I'd look a little bit more crazy. Even though I'm picking my hair, and when I'm done, it won't be even because I'm not that good at cutting my hair. So automatically, before I even say anything, what do you see? You see a guy in a martial arts gi with a patch that you don't recognize. It doesn't look too Asian, but people probably don't know enough to see that. But just seeing a black man in a martial arts gi, will make you think, well, this guy is out of the ordinary. Okay, you see these signs in the background. Perfectly normal for political dissidents to have these. How many political dissidents in Santa Cruz, in San Francisco, in small hippie towns, and all over America have tons of bumper stickers and posters? Okay? But again, appearances. People will think that this guy's mind is not healthy. That's why he has all these things and he's wearing this martial art gi. Forget the fact that this is common among political dissidents. Forget the fact that martial arts come from Africa, and that's why there's a black fist on the gi and it says freedom. I'm a freedom fighter. Okay? Forget that. Appearances. I'm the top martial artist in America and a political dissident. This is exactly what you should expect. How many of you can do that from sitting there? Exactly what you should expect. Appearances. So, which one is more important? Appearances or the patient knows best? How many of you would like to be judged for your appearances? He's dressing like a gangster. He must be manic. He must have a mental disorder. We have to give him a drug. This person dresses like a punk rocker. They must have some mental disorder, or else they wouldn't have chosen that. If you're not listening to country or classical music, you must have a mental disorder that led you to like that. If you're worked up talking about, there's somebody in the house, or you have an intruder, you must be manic. If we are not to consider what the patient has to say and jump to the conclusion that only appearances matter, then are we truly treating anyone? When you go to a doctor's office, regardless of what kind, they give you this sheet. It says, insurance, are you taking medication, what are your symptoms? How can the industry, the only medical, quote-unquote, medical profession that doesn't have valid diagnostic tests, not consider what the patient has to say when all of the other ones that do have valid diagnostic tests do consider what the patient has to say? Does that make any sense to you? I've been telling them time and time again, I do not function on psychiatric medication. I am fucking miserable. If you're going to a psychiatrist to get you to feel right, to work on your mental health, the health in your mental health, and you're feeling worse, and you're functioning less, and they're saying, disregard what he has to say, because what the patient says doesn't matter. Only the appearances matter. Now, is that not what I mean when I say that they enforce white social norms? They don't treat you, they cheat you, they mistreat you. so they can maintain appearances with their coworkers, with law enforcement, with the government, with their big pharmaceutical allies. Man, how sick is that? Can you imagine being a man with a degree, being the top martial artist in America to the point where you put $3,000 for whoever thinks they can beat you? You know? And they're going to hide behind social norms. I do 10 hits in 1 second, and you're going to pretend that I'm crazy for making such a claim. You're going to completely disregard what I have to say, even though I have a degree in software engineering, information technology, which takes a higher form of logic and concentration. And you're going to disregard what I have to say? Forget what's good for me. Because you only care about enforcing mainstream social norms. And if I was to start screaming and yelling, you would say, I know how he feels. If you were fair and balanced. But if you weren't, you would say, there's something wrong with him. Even though everything I've just described by itself, which I assure you isn't even the tip of the iceberg, is enough to make one scream and yell. How dare you make this claim when you're not listening to what I have to say? When I'm functioning less, when I am more miserable, when I feel violent on psych meds and I feel non-violent when I am off psychiatric medications. How dare you not listen to what I have to say? Right? That would be normal, right? What about when, like my little cousins, they wanted to drug them with the same unbalanced scale, with the same nonsensical scale that they used on me. They want to drug them as well, so they can have the appearance of doing their job. Well, if they're related, don't you see? Whenever you contribute to psychiatry's agenda, you are basically saying, this person is sick in my family. Since psychiatry claims that people have hereditary biological dysfunction or mental illnesses, therefore, there's a good chance that I am sick too. But I'm such a dumbass that I'm going to turn to psychiatry anyway, even though they kill 500,000 people annually in Western countries alone. Now, you see how I'm tiptoeing through the tulips, though you can tell that I'm pretty upset. What is that called? That's called self-control. Right. So I have a greater amount of self-control than the average man. By a good bit. So how could they possibly say, this man needs to be drugged? And even if I didn't, if I'm not hurting anyone or myself, does it matter? Do we drug, these rock and roll, heavy metal guys, Do we drug these rap stars who go on TV and act a fool? Why don't we? Isn't their behavior abnormal? I'll tell you right now, there are tens of millions of Americans who see things the way I do. There are not tens of millions of communists in America. Do we drug communists for being communists? There are not tens of millions of, we'll say Talmudic Jews, a specific type of Jew, right? There's a lot of Jews, but there's not tens of millions of Talmudic Jews. So there's different schools of thought that have to do with religions and theology and so on. And there's less of them that see things that way than there are people that see things my way. So then how can you turn around and say, well, because of this guy's beliefs, we need to drug him? And you're going to base it on what's socially normative? You see, right is right. But when I'm also seeing things the way that tens of millions of people do, in the same country that I'm living in alone, how can you then turn around and say, well, we're going to drug them anyway because we're unfair and all we know is mistreatment and cheating people? Psychiatry doesn't treat. It cheats. It mistreats. I'm the top martial artist in America because of my perception. My careful perception. My focus, my understanding, my real-time understanding. I have a degree in information technology with a concentration in software engineering because of my higher logic being displayed through their white systems of education. I understand how the white man sees things enough to have a degree in a white man's science. He doesn't understand how I see things. I know them, they don't know me. I can beat them, they can't beat me. I can beat them in debate, they can't beat me. How many of you believe that the government persecutes political dissidents in America? How many of you believe that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X didn't live 500 years ago, they didn't live 300 years ago, they didn't live 100 years ago? How many of you believe that they are persecuted for their political views? You know, when I say live, I mean they weren't at the height of their, we're talking about the 60s. Okay? They weren't at the height of their political activism 100 fucking years ago. How many of you know that MK Ultra carried on well past 1977 when they claim it officially ended according to some sources and 73 or so according to others? How many of you know that the government does not treat people fairly? So, how many of you would guess that, say, 95% of America is well aware that the government mistreats political dissidents? There's intelligence agencies that persecute people for their political views. I would say that's about around 95%. Then you have 5% of people who are just completely ignorant, just maybe they're drugged up, stupid, whatever their problem is. I don't know. So you tell me, since when do appearances and maintaining white social norms matter more than treatment and the patient knowing best? You know? If you went to the doctor and says, you know what, I lost feeling in my leg. They say, no, you didn't. You don't look like you lost feeling in your leg. You know? And you're like, but I need this treatment. Okay, how many of you would go there, you walk to the doctor's office and say, doctor, everything's fine, and I can walk, everything. Like, no, you can't walk. You need this wheelchair. You're like, I just walked to the fucking office. Now, how angry would you get if you had a ton of proof that you're right and that they're wrong, but you still are forced to have to use a fucking wheelchair? You're like, look, you stupid motherfucker. 1,000 people just saw me walk to this fucking office. Do I need to go gather them? Think about it. Now, let's not forget all the other things they've done to me. Watch my other videos. I mean, there's a long list. They covertly drug me. They provoke me. They harass me. They stalk me. There's groups of political activists. There's Freemasons. There's intelligence agencies. Local law enforcement has made it personal with me. All these people have made it personal with me. And you all wish to forget that the patient knows best. If I wanted your help, I would ask for it. If I want you to covertly drug me and for me to slit your fucking throat, then I probably would be crazy. But that's not what I want. Unfortunately, that is what they want. A guy walks down the street and two big guys confront him. He said, look, I don't know what your problem is, and a pretty lady. I don't know what your problem is. You're trying to impress the lady. You don't want to admit that I'm the top martial arts. Fine, I'll tell you what. I'll take off my videos if you two can fucking beat me, but you can't. They both pull out knives. Big, strong, slow guys. Oh, well. I'm not gonna lie. I cut the shit out of myself. But that doesn't change the fact that they all would be dead. Don't try this at home. Because this is what happens. Yeah, like I said, you have to be able to deal with knives. Fuck me. Now I've got to treat this fucking wound. Blood. It's disgusting. You don't want to see it.